If the voters don't stop it, the election deniers could kill our American democracy. As the chief election officers in California and Michigan, they're charged with ensuring and protecting the votes of over 30 million people. That's roughly 20% of the total registered voters in that particular country. Now we work to make sure that every eligible citizen is registered and they have the information that they need to vote, have their and has their vote counted correctly, and they can have rightly placed faith in a complex electoral process. Now, one made more onerous by continuing the COVID-19 pandemic. We join thousands of elected and appointed local election officials on fulfilling this mission. Now, this is the charge of every Secretary of State and state election official across the country. Bear this in mind, we pose this question: who do you want running elections in your state? An election denier who refuses to acknowledge the will of the voters in 2020 and who was present during the tragic U.S. Capitol Klan insurrection on January 6 of 2021. A candidate who aims to rewrite the history of the 2020 election. Falsely repeating debunked allegations that voting machines in Georgia flipped votes that were cast for the former squatter Trump to President Joe Biden. Or would you prefer a civil servant, a dedicated advocate for democracy that's committed to defending and strengthening the most fundamental American right? Now this is the choice I would go with. A choice between truth and lies, autocracy and democracy, will be on the ballot in our states and dozens of others this November. And there are already nearly 24 candidates running to be the chief election officer in their state who question the legitimacy of President Biden's rightful win in 2020, and they support efforts to both restrict access to the ballot and institute changes that would allow officials to invalidate or overturn results at will. One has called for the dissolution of the bipartisan Wisconsin Election Commission, which fairly administers elections in the Badger State. Another proposed bill in the Arizona State Legislature would allow that partisan body to simply overrule Secretary of State's decision to officially certify the results of an election. Now, 3 candidates who have appeared at events with prominent members of the QAnon movement, and one proudly restates the group's outlandish conspiracy theories, which are unworthy of being restated here. By calling into question President Biden's certified rightful election victory, these candidates have shown us who they really are. Individuals that are willing to, if given the authority, nullify the voice and will of the voters if they don't like the results in elections that they oversee. In supporting extreme anti-democratic changes to voting laws, this will make it more difficult for citizens to access the ballot box, and they're demonstrated an un-American commitment to partisan goals over truth and fucking democracy. But let us be fucking clear here. This will only happen if the fucking American voter allows it. Because this fall, voters in California and Michigan and across the country will have a clear opportunity to fucking reject candidates who run on a platform of party over country. They can hold accountable those seeking to use their platforms and authority to override confidence in our election system and deny those willing to overturn the will of the voters, the ability to do so. Now, in 2022, voters can act to ensure anyone with the explicit mission of overturning democracy, and it fails to ascend as the chief election officer of their state. Now, indeed, the American voter is the only one who can save our democracy from those seeking to serve as election officials, secretaries of state, and attorney generals who will be poised and empowered to overturn elections at will. We say this not to be alarming, but rather to be pragmatic about what's in front of us in this pivotal election year. When we look at our oaths of office as secretaries of state, and when we walk into our office, when people walk into the office each day, we do not do so as Democrats or Republicans, but as Americans. They were promised to carry out sworn constitutional duties and fulfill the roles in the invaluable democratic process. It's time for those of us, like Democrats, Republicans, Independents, who care about our democratic institutions, to take the threat in front of us seriously. There are 26 Secretary of States across the country this year, and in some states, elections for county clerks and other local election officials as well, and numerous states from coast to coast where the big lie is on the ballot. Now, rejecting misinformation, suppression, and election tampering will take all of us, but we urge you to get involved by supporting candidates who are committed to protecting our democratic institutions and donating your time or money if you're able, and first and foremost making your voice heard at the polls in both the primary and the general elections in your state. Our democracy simply cannot afford for any of us to sit out and fight this fucking thing. So if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel RBW King, and also hit the notification bell so that you're notified when a new video comes out. And if you want to support my work even further, you could click the about link. You could click the about section on my YouTube channel, and there's a Patreon link where you can donate to support the work even further. Yeah.